For this project, I decided to talk about the Regional Deaf Services Program of Southwest Virginia, which is a program offered to consumers at my workplace and my practicum site, Cumberland Mountain Community Services Board. The program provides access to mental health, substance abuse, and intellectual disability and developmental disability services to people who are deaf, hard of hearing, and deaf blind who live in Southwest Virginia. Now, the main goal of the program is to ensure that the services that these people receive are culturally sensitive. So, one of their main goals is to view being deaf as a culture and approach providing services that way rather than to view being deaf as a pathology that needs to be fixed. Um, and as I said, culturally sensitive services are a big part of this program. So some research shows that being deaf is often viewed as a disability or a pathology that needs to be fixed in and of itself, when in all reality, it's more productive to understand deafness as a culture. And what that really means is that it's more important to understand the values, the behavioral norms, the customs, the organizations that come along with being deaf, as opposed to trying to fix the deafness itself and focus on an individual being deaf. It's more productive to understand how a person experiences their mental health difficulties as a member of deaf culture, as opposed to, like I said, viewing that individual as being deaf and that being the focus of what needs to be looked at during services. So, some of the services that are offered to deaf individuals through this program are therapy, case management, psychiatric medication services, and crisis services. I kind of touched on it before, but I want to kind of go a little bit more in detail with it now. The services provided through this program to deaf individuals are provided from a non pathological standpoint. Uh, so that means that the individuals who are providing services to the consumers are knowledgeable on deaf culture, and they understand that people who are deaf have different worldviews, different experiences of the world than people who can hear. And they approach their service provision understanding these worldviews and these differences in the way they look at things, just like any of us would approach anybody with any kind of cultural difference or difference in worldview or anything like that. And they also provide community outreach and education um, for deaf individuals, and to kind of try to get the community to kind of understand that deaf individuals have a different experience of the world. They have a different outlook on the world. And that this is a really big part of how we should be providing services to them and how we should be providing accommodations to them, is understanding that their deafness, a lot of deaf people don't look at their deafness as the issue that needs to be taken care of. That's just kind of the lens that they view the world through. And so I wanted to take a minute and talk about some of the staff that work in this program. I have met these staff and they are absolutely wonderful. They do great work. All of the staff in the program are fluent in ASL, signed English, spoken English. Uh, And the program also has access to interpreters who can uh, who can interpret for deaf people who don't use ASL or signed English or can't read lips. They use mostly home signs. So they are absolutely amazing people. They do really good work. Um, I've met them and I've got to help with some of their clients. As a matter of fact, I have a client right now who is in services with them as well. And this client just happens to go to one of the schools that I cover. And I can say that they do such a great job of advocating for these people uh, who who have these different needs than we do, than hearing people do, and they just do an amazing job, and I can't say enough good things about the work that they do. The long term goal of the program is essentially to provide the same access to services to deaf individuals as is available for individuals who can hear. And that's a really big undertaking because there's a really big kind of barrier to services when going to services might involve having to wait for them to get you an interpreter, or you might go and want to, like, for example, the client that I have in the schools, who I would be her case manager because she goes to one of the schools that I cover, and I don't know ASL. So it's a really big barrier to services when your point of contact, your case manager, doesn't know the language you speak. So it's a really big thing that we have this available to us. And it really helps in getting people in for services and helping them be able to kind of get the services that they need. Uh, the program also provides consultation and education to other professional services in the program service area. So doctors' offices, other therapy offices, I mean, pretty much you name it, and it's there. They provide outreach, they provide consultation, they provide education, and they talk to these other offices about how different the experience is for people who are deaf than people who are hearing. They kind of start that conversation of, you know, you have individuals who would come to services here and who need services from here, but there's a barrier there, and they kind of start the conversation. They kind of get the ball rolling of what can we do to start kind of making it easier for these people to get into services. Um, as I said earlier, they also provide education to the community, mostly at community events. I've seen them at a lot of community events in my area. They kind of set up a little table and they have brochures and just kind of promote what they do. And they really promote depathologizing deafness and promoting it as a culture rather than a disability. They really love to promote the idea that deafness is not a disability that needs to be fixed. It's a way somebody experiences the world, and that's a really big thing. Um, so as I said earlier, uh, these are the references that I used when I was talking about the deafness as being a culture. And just some kind of closing remarks. I think it's really important to remember that one of the things that was told to me by someone in that program that I think it's really important to remember is that it's not our job to try to fix people. And I really don't like that term of fixing people. What is our job is to try to make their their experience of the world as much better as we can make it. So what I really mean by that is it's it what is our job is to try to give them the same opportunities to get the same level of care, to get the same level of services, to get the same level of anything else as anybody else would have. It's on us to give them. It's on us as service providers to give everybody the same shot of being able to cope with the things that they've got going on in their life as it is for anybody else who doesn't have those